The last Catholic church in Gaza attacked by Israel. But that was an accident, right, Michael Knowles?
The Latin Patriarch seems to think it was intentional.
Remember canceled priests? Whatever happened to those guys? And whatever happened to the healthy skepticism of the 1980s? Meanwhile, with abortion in America on the rise, why is the Trump administration blocking attempts to restrict the proliferation of abortion pills? And finally, they sacrificed their lives for what they believed. So does that mean that history's heroes died in vain? Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I am Michael Matt. This is the Remnant Underground. Welcome to you all, whether you're watching us on remnant-tv.com, YouTube, Remnant Newspaper, what else we got? Well, we got X, Facebook, whatever. Thank you so much. Please spread the word. Once again, we are not, our home, our regular home is not YouTube. Some people still think that we're on YouTube. First and foremost, we're not. YouTube is where we post our stuff after it's been posted at remnant-tv.com so we can remain autonomous and independent of the big tech censors. So please spread the word. Before we get started tonight, just a quick word from our sponsor, which is the Catholic Identity Conference, which is coming up right around the corner. The roster is not even full yet, but we already have 4 bishops speaking this year in person. I'm so proud to say we got 3 priests. We've got a Catholic nun, beautiful Catholic nun, an African Catholic missionary priest who's coming all the way from Tanzania. Isn't that cool? This is going to be a big deal. In fact, the new RTV special features one of the CIC speakers. Synodality as Code Word by Bishop Marian Eleganti. For the sake of Christ's love, stop the overload of synodal documents. Stop spinning in circles in a process that has not awakened love for Jesus Christ in a single soul, but instead has. I'm just so grateful to His Excellency for having the courage to speak out. In fact, I would ask this audience, please, it's really incumbent upon us now, all of us. I'll put the link right down here, Walter will. Share that link to this new RTV video with just about, with everybody you know. Share it with your priest, with your bishop, everybody you know. Why? Because it is so important that when a good bishop speaks out like that, speaks truth to Vatican power, if you will, he has to know, and the Vatican has to see, that faithful Catholics will stand up for the bishops that have the courage to stand up and speak out. Besides that, we're all sheep. It gets kind of depressing, doesn't it? When things falling apart as they are, we're all sheep. We need shepherds. A few months ago when I was on the Charette pilgrimage, and I've been walking all day long on the pilgrimage. We came into the camp in the evening, and who do I see standing there, kind of walking up towards his bride? But His Excellency Bishop Athanasius Schneider. And I just broke ranks and immediately walked up to him. Somebody caught it on with their phone. They filmed it, and it really was a lot. I felt a lot like a son meeting his father or something. So I look at these bishops, the ones that we have, the ones who are speaking out, the ones who are so thoroughly Catholic and courageous, as literally as fathers. There's only a remnant left of bishops, but that remnant is getting larger and stronger every day, as we just pointed out with Bishop Eleganti. But they are the shepherds, and we are the sheep. And again, sheep need shepherds. In fact, there's another shepherd that will be at the CIC. His name is Bishop Rob Mutserts. He's from the Netherlands, and he also seems to have had quite enough of synodality. What do you think?
Real quickly also, we're in the middle of a global synodal process. How was that perceived in the Netherlands?
If you go to the average man in the street and you ask 100 people, maybe one ever heard of it. Well, you mustn't forget church attendance from all the baptized is at its best 2%. And just a small number of people showed up in parishes when this was discussed. I have no idea where this is going to lead to, because who are we talking to, listening to, because it's all listening? Everyone. About what? Everything. All kinds of everything. Well, to me, it's up till now, it's a lot of those opinions. Some very contradictory to what the church teaches, against tradition. Some in favor, but I don't know what's going to lead this to. Well, of course, we're not a parliament, but I don't know.
So this is really shaping up. The Catholic Identity Conference is really shaping up to be quite something. I think it's going to be sort of the shot heard round the church, if you will. So click the link below. Join us today. I think there are a few seats left. We'll see you there. And spread the word. This is going to be a big deal. Also, don't forget to hit my e-blast link also below so that we can stay in touch during the big Unite the Clans tour now. That kicks off in just about 2.5 weeks. First, it's going to kick off in Kenya in Africa. Then we're going to Uganda, then Tanzania, or Tanzania as they say. It's a huge, huge project. So I'm just wanted to let you know it's going to happen. If you click that link and you're on my e-list, my e-letter, we'll be able to stay in touch. We'll be able to put videos and pictures and messages from there. We'll also try to get it onto Remnant TV, Remnant newspaper, the socials, everything, usual stuff. Do I need money? Do I need your money for this? No. No, I don't. I just need your prayers. We really need your prayers as we venture forth on this thing. The thing is, the odd thing is, sometimes I feel like I'm among the very few who actually think we can win this war. I'm absolutely convinced that we can win this war. That's why I stress Unite the Clans so much. So I believe we can win the war for the proclamation of the social kingship of Christ. I think we can win the war to keep the faith. I think the enemy is weaker than it's ever been, as is evidenced by things like Traditionis Custodes, where they have to use the raw power to try to stop us and try to shut us down because they're threatened by us, right? So our African allies now are key to that victory, and that's where we're going. So again, sign up for my e-letter today, and let's stay in touch during that trip, which I hope to be a beautiful and grace-filled event for everybody, including you who will be watching from home. So more good news. It looks like things over at LifeSiteNews maybe on the mend, Walter? Seems like it, I guess, yeah. The latest that we hear from LifeSite Camp is that John Henry Weston has been reinstated as CEO. And quite frankly, I don't say this very often, but I'm going to say it now. I told you so. I told you so last week. I said, leave it alone. There are always two sides to every argument, every dispute like this. Stop driving the wedge in. Pray for them both, and maybe there can be a resolution. Now, I don't think this is a little thing. I think it's very concerning, especially when you see priests out there. Like something happens, there's a division, and they come out and attack, full-on attack, one or two of the parties, whoever they decide they're going to side with one person to get clicks, and they just savage the other guy, who in this case happens to be a very pro-life organization. Maybe they're not traditionalists, they're certainly not sedevacantists, they're not the enemy, they're not the devil incarnate, LifeSiteNews, right? I was like, what is going on? What is happening to us that we seem to want to foment division like that? So I stand by what I said last week. Over on YouTube, somewhere over the course of the last few days, I actually posted something long before John Henry announced that he's coming back as CEO, that there was hope that they were going to resolve it, and could we all please stop attacking and driving the wedge? And I believe that we need to really learn from this. Let's not do that anymore. If there's any way we can prevent the old boy, the devil, from getting between people who, whatever they're trying to do the right thing. They may not agree with each other, but they're trying to serve the cause. They love God. They can say the creed with us and mean it. Well, let's try to fix those things in the future. At least let's not exacerbate them, right? So, friends, there's so much division right now. I know that was my main reason with the LifeSite thing, for just trying to calm people down. People can't handle any more of this, especially if it's in any sense avoidable. We can't handle it. It's so discouraging. It's so depressing. There's enough bad news. I just read, somebody sent me an article, another crisis being reported at our friends at Crisis Magazine about canceled priests, which looks like it's just a mess right now. I'll put the link right down here. You can make up your own mind what's going on there, but it doesn't look good at all. And Crisis Magazine does not traffic in sensationalism, so it's a serious problem there. I never supported canceled priests. Maybe you noticed that. I never supported the organization. I have supported many canceled priests in my day, but I didn't support the organization Canceled Priests because, quite frankly, I didn't know anything about them. I did not know enough. Who's getting the money? Who's deciding what goes where? You know what I mean? I just didn't know. That's why I never encourage any of you to send them money either. It was too new. They came out of the gate and all of a sudden, give us money. I'm like, why? This was when there were so many, during COVID, there were so many police officers that I knew who were canceled. So many doctors, so many nurses, people with families are being canceled. What about like canceledcops.com? Those guys had kids and they were getting canceled for taking a strong stand against the vax and all that. So yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't support it. Some of you got a little upset with me on that, but I didn't go to their conferences because I just didn't know. And now I'm glad I didn't, And the reason is because I've been at this for 30 some years and you learn something over the course of a career. I've seen too many good people, quite frankly, get scammed by guys wearing Roman collars. I'm sorry, I just have. Plenty of them, Some of them even tried to swindle me back in the day, Mr. Matt, I'm going to be attacked soon for being too traditional. Don't believe anything they say about me. It's just because I'm... Okay, Father, really? Well, that was Father X 20 years ago, just before he was arrested, defrocked, and then sent to jail for sexually abusing kids. There was another one a few years later. Mr. Matt, I am a Novus Ordo priest, but I'm about ready to get canceled because I'm speaking truth to power about the Latin Mass. I'm going to learn it soon. Well, that's nice. Trouble is, a few months later, that particular Father X was defrocked for soliciting male prostitutes in a local park. So the takeaway? Friends, let's be smart. Lots of guys in Roman collars are saying lots of bad things and scamming lots of good people. So be careful. Don't give anyone a penny until they have proven to you that they are for real, that they're bona fide, Otherwise, even if they're saying the Latin Mass, the only difference between them and this weirdo is their Roman collar.
You need to send in $3,500. You need to send in $35,000. You need to send in that $100,000 check. If you do not write that P.O. box and you do not call that toll-free number and you do not become a ministry of sustainer, you will never see sustainment in your life and your dream will die.
We can't become that as traditional Catholics. This is crazy. And I grew up in the 1980s. Everything was a bit more skeptical, and I think healthily so. We're very skeptical about this kind of thing. We even had top 10 pop songs blasting these creeps for using religion to scam good people out of their money. Some of you may remember the song Satellite by the Hooters. That takes me back. But, that's the way it was. And I kind of wonder what the heck ever happened to healthy skepticism like that, to charlatans and fraudsters and scammers. I don't know what happened. The internet? I don't know what happened. Well, that's the way we grew up. You were pretty skeptical of that sort of thing. Somebody says, give me money. You say, what for? Where's your gun? You at least have the decency to pull your gun out and rob me if you want my money, And it's not just rogue priests that are doing this. There's the whacked out, Pastor Paula types. These days, good people are falling for everything and anything, even politicians. Politicians. Phonies who used to rank just a bit above horse traders in terms of trustworthiness. Politicians. Do you remember?
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky.
I think that gay marriage should be allowed. I do not believe that gay marriages should be legal.
I am honored to be here with Barack Obama.
So shame on you, Barack Obama.
Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, these countries are tiny compared to the Soviet Union. They don't pose a serious threat to us. Iran is a grave threat.
We can end illegal immigration.
We're never, ever going to be able to totally control immigration.
You have said in the past that it was, quote, pretty well confirmed.
No, I never said that.
Okay. I
never
think
said
that is...
No, it's absolutely not. What I said was, it's been pretty well confirmed.
There are known knowns. There are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we now know we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we do not know we don't know.
So, again, what happened to us? When did we become a nation of gullible marks? You can be counted on to pony up. You can be counted on to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop. When COVID comes along, or Ukraine or Israel or whatever, watching TV, whatever they tell us on TV to care about, well, that's what we care about. That's a little frightening. So right now it's Epstein. And yes, Epstein is bad. The Epstein files. Oh my goodness, what's going on there? But, as upsetting as the Epstein situation is, also equally upsetting, in my opinion, even more upsetting, is skyrocketing abortion rates. Also as upsetting, bombing women and children for years in Gaza. That's even worse. And now they're bombing Catholic churches in Gaza too.
Tonight, a look at the damage to Gaza's only Catholic church after it was struck by Israeli artillery. The building's still standing, but church officials say 3 people were killed. 2 of them buried today, their funerals at the neighboring Greek Orthodox church. As they were leaving after finishing their prayer, they were targeted, said this man who was sheltering in the church. Among the lightly injured was the parish priest, Father Gabriele Romanelli.
So let's get this straight. There's a deadly strike on Gaza's only Catholic church, right? And people are saying, well, obviously it was just a mistake, including Bibi.
The IDF says fragments from a tank shell fired nearby hit the church mistakenly.
Bibi Netanyahu said it was a mistake, called up the Pope. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to. Well, what are you bombing people for anyway over there? Why don't you stop that? That's like little children in the living room when they break something finally, after having been running round and round and round and knocking things over and acting out of control, and you yelled at them, you scolded them, you said stop, they wouldn't stop, they disobeyed you, and then they broke something. Well, there's an accident. I don't care if it's an accident. You were told to stop running around. Well, Mr. BB, you were told to stop bombing the heck out of women and children. I've been at it for 2 years. You're not getting anywhere. Obviously, Hamas doesn't mind. They don't care. They're not going anywhere. So what are we doing this for, right?
The Latin Patriarchate strongly condemns this tragedy and this targeting of innocent civilians and of a sacred place. So Israel came out later on after international outcry, including from the White House. Israel came out and said, oh, it was a mistake. It was an accident. Was it an accident? I don't see any evidence that it was an accident. Can you provide me some proof that it was an accident? You struck the church. Churches are pretty obvious targets. They're pretty obvious sites. There's certain features, the cross, steeple, they're pretty obvious. Can you explain to me how this was an accident? Haven't heard that. The Latin Patriarch seems to think it was intentional. The targeting of innocent civilians, not just a stray bullet, the targeting.
The Netanyahu government expressed deep regret for the assault, reported Tucker Carlson in his daily e-blast a couple of days ago, and I agree with him. He says they told the White House it was a mistake. That leaves 2 possibilities, says Carlson. Either they're lying and the attack was actually deliberate, or the IDF is so incompetent that its strike on Gaza's only Catholic church was a legitimate accident. There is no third option, end quote. So says Tucker Carlson, and I totally agree with him. So then the big question comes along. Why is President Donald Trump going along with all this? And what's it going to take to make him stop, Why are these guys, why is Israel our greatest ally when this is going on?
UK youth, a striking 54% today, believe that Israel shouldn't exist. We have seen the most deranged behavior from Israelis. And I'm not just even talking soldiers. We've seen deranged behavior from soldiers, but we've seen deranged mothers on TikTok dressing up their children, with black eyes and missing teeth, or making fun of parents losing babies. We've seen soldiers urinating on Palestinian captives, children attacked by dogs, sexual assault, rape. At a certain point, for those of us who are looking at Israeli society, this is looking psychotic. Are Israelis aware that public perception today of Israel is of a deeply depraved society? I mean, you can put all the Hasbro spin that you want on this. There is no putting lipstick on a pig.
And again, this is what I was worried about during the run-up to the last election. What was this going to look like, this incredible marriage between the Trump administration and the state of Israel? Israel is backing Trump, right? Trump's been backing Israel for a long time as well. Trump is promising to stamp out anti-Semitism on his first day in office. That's what he said. He didn't say he was going to stamp out Christophobia. He said he was going to stamp out anti-Semitism, which he defined as people who are protesting Israel's war in the Middle East. You know what's going on here, right? We've been breaking it down on this show for years. Trump told the world, he informed the entire world some time ago that Jerusalem is, wait for it, Israel's eternal capital.
And I stood proudly with our friend and ally, the state of Israel. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, and actually got it built. I actually got it built.
This whole war is about the eternal capital of Jerusalem being given not to the Christians, being given back to the Jews, again, as if Christ never came, as if Christ, as St. Pius X pointed out, as if Christ hadn't already made Jerusalem blessed and holy, the holy city of Christians, friends.
Jerusalem is where Messiah will come and establish a kingdom that will never end. We thank you, O Lord, for President Donald Trump's courage in acknowledging to the world a truth established 3,000 years ago, that Jerusalem is and always shall be the eternal capital of the Jewish people.
To understand how influential Christian Zionists have become, you have to understand John Hagee. This Texas pastor is the founder and leader of Christians United for Israel, or CUFI, an organization that claims to have 10 million members. That makes Hagee influential outside the movement too, with lots of big-name friends in politics. As we saw earlier, Hagee and many of his counterparts insist the Holy Land is actually promised to Jews by God, and so they want to see the West Bank remain under Israel's control, because it's a necessary step for Jesus Christ's return to earth.
And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals. You know, it's amazing with that. The evangelicals are more excited about that than Jewish people. It's really, right? It's incredible.
You know what I wish, as a practicing Catholic, as a father, as a serious conservative, you know what I wish? I wish it was okay for us to be as angry about this next clip as everybody is angry about the Epstein lies. I wish we could also be angry about this.
President Donald Trump's administration has asked a judge to toss out a lawsuit from 3 Republican-led states seeking to cut off telehealth access to the abortion medication mifepristone. Justice Department attorneys on Monday stayed the legal course charted by former President Joe Biden's administration. But the attorneys did not weigh in on the underlying issue of access to the drug. Instead, the government argued Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho don't have the legal right or standing to sue. The lawsuit from Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri argues that the Food and Drug Administration should roll back access to mifepristone. They filed their complaint after the Supreme Court preserved access to the drug last year. The 3 states want the FDA to prohibit telehealth prescriptions for mifepristone, require 3 in-office visits, and restrict the point in a pregnancy when it can be used.
I don't understand. Do you? Are you okay with that? The Trump administration asking the judge to toss out a suit restricting abortion medication? While abortion rates are up all across this country right now, did you know that? They're much higher now than they were before Dobbs.
Report tonight shows abortions in the U.S. on the rise following the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. The Society of Family Planning says there were more than 1.1 million abortions in the U.S. last year. Most took place in states where abortion remains legal. About 1 in 4 were provided through telehealth services.
With the Dobbs decision and multiple states banning abortion outright, it became clear that there would be a real need for access to telehealth abortion, increased need for access to telehealth abortion. And so multiple states passed shield laws, which means that the providers in their states can mail abortion pills to people in any part of the country, including states that have banned abortion.
I want them to be pro-life too. You know, I don't understand this. The Trump administration wants this to continue. As I said last week, little girls in their bathrobes in their bathrooms, killing their own babies, making themselves sick as well, often ending up in emergency rooms themselves, as Abby Johnson has talked about so often, what really happens, how ghoulish and gory this is, right? Why? Why is the Trump administration trying to block this? I can't go along with this. They're really trying to make sure that abortion pills stay legal in this country. They're responsible for 62.3% of all the abortions. I mean, is that okay with you? I can't imagine it is. I mean, if we close an eye to this, if the bar has gotten so low that we're going to actually just say, well, you gotta live with abortion, that's just the way it is. If the bar has gotten so low, well, it's over. We're done. And I know some of you want to talk about, well, the alternative was worse. I knew that. As I explained at the time, I live in Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz is my governor. You don't think I understand what the other side looks like? We did rallies out in front of the Capitol.
I'm really proud of the Minnesotans that were willing to come together like this and remind all of the conservative people around the world, all the folks who are in the good fight, not to forget this is a spiritual war. This is a holy war as well. And I'm so proud that you're standing with us for the next hour in defense of our civil liberties, in defense of our beliefs, our religion, and our fidelity to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you. God bless you. We'll check back in with you in 1 hour. Have a good rally, and we'll see you in an hour. God bless you. Thank you.
And you see all those cops in the video I just showed you? Cops that came out and encircled us that day for protesting what Walz was doing? We get it! Did you hear Tim Walz the other night during his debate with J.D. Vance? Complaining about those dangerous Minnesotans who'd protested him during COVID and who now, according to Tim, need to be silenced? Yes, I know what's coming. I know exactly what's coming. I know exactly what's at stake. So yeah, I get it. This is the problem, though. What happens if we don't have an option, like Bishop Schneider was talking about in the communist countries? What if you just, after a while, like, wait a minute, I don't know what I can do here. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I'm just saying I don't understand what's happening with the Trump administration and abortion pills. Just like I don't understand why it was that the Trump administration had to support gay marriage. I don't understand that,
Donald is the first president to enter the White House supporting gay marriage.
Why'd that have to happen, right? Because if we give in on these things, if we give in on the moral law, if you look at biblically speaking, it's when the people gave in on that sort of thing, when they turned themselves over to lusts and debauchery and murder and bloodletting and child infanticide and all, that's when the end of the civilization came. That's when God intervened. That's when Sodom and Gomorrah blew up, right? So we simply cannot become them, as I said last time, with the 10 just men of Sodom. It's not just that God saved them. God was willing to save the entire city for the sake of those who kept the faith, for those who did not become evil, who did not become them. And that's what's happening all around us now. You see more and more of this. You see people becoming them, some willingly becoming them, others being dragged along becoming them because they're afraid of the alternative, right? Which I understand. But we have to have a conversation about this, I don't believe you have to be some plaster saint in order to be ready to vow to never, ever close an eye to baby killing, to never get used to baby killing. That's the line in the sand, okay? That's the line which is what happened last November. That's the line in the sand for many of us. Absolutely not. You will not drag us over that line in the sand. Because killing babies, well, that God is the author of life. That's like the easiest thing. The bar is lowest there. People say, well, you're just talking about like heroic virtue, Michael Mann. You talk about saints. Well, we're not saints. We're just regular people. Okay. So let's just talk about regular people then in history who refused to comply, right? Who refused to become them. Sophie Scholl in Nazi Germany, a little Lutheran girl. She wasn't even Catholic, but she refused to become them.
What if one small voice could change the course of history? Sophie Scholl, a German student, dared to challenge the Nazi regime during World War II, distributing leaflets that called for resistance against tyranny. Her bravery, however, came at a terrible cost. Arrested in 1943, Sophie faced a swift trial for treason, a grim reality for many truth-tellers of her time. Just days later, she was executed, leaving behind a legacy marked by immense courage. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the price of freedom and the importance of standing up against injustice, even in the face of overwhelming odds. As her voice was silenced, it echoed more loudly through history, inspiring generations to fight for what is right.
I was horrified one time. This never even occurred to me. This was last year, a year and a half ago. When I was talking about the Vendée, and somebody came up to me and said the Vendéans were losers. And I said, well, what about the Christian martyrs? I mean, they didn't win their tilt either. And he said, the martyrs were losers too. They're not winners. Why cite them? They lost. And I couldn't believe it. You know, in France, I talk about the great Vendéan General Francois Charette and all about him. He was a great Catholic. But he wasn't a saint. He was just a regular guy who said, I'm not going to become like them. I'm not going to go along with this. I will not comply. And so he died for his country and for his refusal to comply with the lying politicians of his day, who had killed his king and desecrated the altars of his church, by the way. And here's how Francois Charette, here's how his days on this earth ended.
Peloton.
Adieu. Général. Visez le cœur. C'est là qu'on frappe un brave.
À mon commandement.
Aujourd'hui, je meurs debout. Je veux voir la mort en face. Je m'en vais vous rejoindre, vous que j'ai commandé,
Bonjour.
vous que j'ai aimé, vous qui êtes morts sur le bord du chemin, sans nom, sans sépulture. Que restera-t-il de nous? C'est peut-être ici que notre histoire commence.
Again, did he lose? That magnificent sacrifice terrified the revolution, still does. Martyrs terrify the revolution because the revolution has no power over us if we sacrifice everything, even our lives, for the cause to defeat them. Charette didn't lose. He died to make his cause, in fact, immortal. He immortalized the cause of resistance against the revolution. It lives forever thanks to him. Here's another one, then I'll cut off for today. William Wallace. And I realize the Mel Gibson film took a few liberties with history, but the point remains the same. Wallace was arrested, and then he was killed. But he didn't lose, right? Far from it. If you think about that, what's the climax of the movie Braveheart? It's the end, right? His victory was so powerful that they made a movie about him 7 centuries later, which spends a lot of time on what? On his death. Nearly succeeded, by the way, in inspiring actual Scottish independence 20 years ago. The story was so powerful of a guy who died rather than comply.
The prisoner wishes to say a word.
You see what I'm getting at, right? History is full of the stories of regular people just like us who refuse to become them and then change history and oftentimes collapse the revolution. Their work, their example led to the collapse of the revolution. Some were saints, yes. Many were not. Most were just like us. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, people who wanted to be left alone, as Solzhenitsyn famously said. They wanted to be left alone, that's all they wanted, right? A remnant of defenders of a cause more important to them than life itself. And that's it in a nutshell. Our cause should be more important to us than our own lives, right? That's the message we send to them. You cannot touch us, right? Yes, these people, this remnant that sacrificed everything for a holy cause, yes, they died. But they are the heroes of history. You know, in the end, the little Christian martyrs of the Colosseum, they beat who? They beat the mighty Caesars at their own game. They changed history. It's on their bones that the Catholic Church, that Christendom rests, right? They're the heroes. Their spirit brought about the fall of mighty Rome. There is nothing then, today, there is nothing more important to Catholic counter-revolution than us, for the survival of us as a people, as a religion, right? There is nothing more important than for Catholics, than for us to never be seduced by the regime, to never be forced into going along with them, to never become them, and they know it. They know that's the game. That's why they want to indoctrinate our children. That's why they lie to us every 4 years at the polls to make us do things that we will very quickly thereafter regret, right? They're lying to us. They want our children. That's why they want to lock us down and break our spirit and crush our will. That's why they infiltrated our Catholic Church, by the way. They put the church in the hands of madmen in Rome who fiddle, right? Who fiddle while Christendom burns, blathering on and on about synodality and utter nonsense now. So they'll discourage us or wear us out. They'll make us tired and give up. You know, and in politics, that's why there is a swamp in this country, because only God can drain that swamp. And we're seeing that right now again in what's happening in politics. Only God can drain the swamp. Only Christianity, only Christ the King, only a determined people who will keep the faith can drain that swamp. The politicians cannot drain the swamp. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. They can't do it. They don't even know how. And that's why I don't care what the politicians say anymore. I know many of you don't either. I don't care what they promise to do for me. I just don't care. I can't even listen to it anymore. I'm so sick and tired of it. These stupid promises that mean nothing. What I do care about is uniting with good people, uniting with you, uniting with the clans, coming out here every week and talking about these issues that matter most so that we can start strengthening ourselves, right? So that maybe we'll be the ones who will not compromise, right? On sodomy, for example, or on any of the other capital sins that have become so popular now, right? Pride, right? So we can agree to never ever purchase our freedom with the blood of the unborn, that we will always defend the rights of God, even if every stinking politician on earth tells us that God is dead. Because you know what? To hell with that. They are politicians, and like demons, everything politicians say is fake and gay.